Eye. The eye is one of those animals that makes you wonder what nature was thinking. This creature looks like it crawled straight out of a horror movie, and honestly, the locals in Madagascar think it's cursed. Can you blame them? This thing has bulging yellow eyes that glow in the dark, massive bat-like ears that never stop twitching, and teeth that keep growing throughout its entire life. But here's where it gets really weird. The eye has this one super long, bony middle finger that looks completely skeletal. It uses this creepy finger to tap on tree bark, listening for hollow spots where insects might be hiding. When it finds a good spot, it gnaws through the wood with those nightmare teeth and then uses that same finger to scoop out the bugs inside. Imagine being an insect, just minding your business inside a tree, and suddenly this bone finger comes stabbing through the darkness to pull you out. Absolutely terrifying. The tapping behavior is called percussive foraging, and the eye is the only primate that hunts this way. It taps up to 8 times per second, using echolocation similar to how bats navigate. The sound it makes is unsettling, like someone gently knocking on your window at 3 in the morning. In Madagascan folklore, if an eye points that long finger at you, you're marked for death. Superstition aside, this animal is genuinely one of the strangest primates on Earth. What makes the eye even more bizarre is how it moves. It doesn't walk normally, instead it kind of scuttles and jerks around branches in this unnatural way that makes it look possessed. Its body language is all wrong for a mammal. Combined with those glowing eyes and that finger, you've got an animal that evolution seemingly designed to freak people out. Scientists believe the eye fills the ecological role that woodpeckers fill in other parts of the world, but woodpeckers don't look like demons. The eye is also nocturnal, which means you'll only encounter it in the dark forests of Madagascar at night. Just picture this. You're walking through the jungle with a flashlight, and suddenly those massive yellow eyes reflect back at you from the trees. Then you see that finger reaching out, tapping on wood, and you hear that rhythmic knocking sound echoing through the forest. No wonder people thought these things were bad omens. Despite their terrifying appearance, eyes are actually endangered. Habitat loss and superstition-driven hunting have reduced their numbers significantly. They're solitary animals that spend most of their lives alone in the trees, which somehow makes them even creepier. They build nests that look like giant balls of leaves high up in the canopy, and they sleep there during the day. At night, they emerge to tap their way through the forest searching for their next meal with that horrible finger. Nature really said, let's make the weirdest primate possible, and the eye was born.
The naked mole rat is proof that evolution doesn't care about beauty. This animal looks like a raw sausage with teeth, and those teeth are on the outside of its mouth. Let that sink in. Its lips close behind its front teeth so it can dig through soil without getting dirt in its mouth. That's practical, sure, but it's also deeply disturbing to look at. The naked mole rat has almost no hair, wrinkled pink skin that looks exactly like an old person's hand, and tiny eyes that barely work because it spends its entire life underground in complete darkness. But here's what makes the naked mole rat absolutely wild. It feels almost no pain. Scientists have studied these creatures extensively and discovered that they lack a neurotransmitter called substance P, which is responsible for sending pain signals to the brain. You could expose a naked mole rat to acid or extreme heat and it would barely react. This adaptation helps them survive in underground tunnels with low oxygen and high carbon dioxide levels that would be toxic to most other mammals. Their bodies have evolved to handle conditions that would kill you or me within minutes. The social structure of naked mole rats is even stranger than their appearance. They live in colonies like ants or bees, which is incredibly rare for mammals. Each colony has one queen, who is the only female allowed to breed. She's bigger than everyone else, and she'll viciously attack any other female that tries to reproduce. The queen can have up to 30 babies in a single litter, and she'll keep pumping out babies for her entire life. All the other moles in the colony are workers who dig tunnels, find food, and take care of the queen's offspring. These workers are divided into different castes. Some are soldiers who defend the colony, and they're more aggressive than the others. Some are diggers who create the elaborate tunnel systems that can stretch for miles underground. The smaller workers take care of the babies and maintain the nest. It's a complete hierarchy, and every mole knows its role. If the queen dies, the colony erupts into chaos as females fight brutally to become the new queen. The winner's body actually changes. Her spine elongates, making her bigger, which is something that doesn't happen in any other mammal. Naked mole rats can live for over 30 years, which is insane for a rodent. Most mice live for 2 years at most. These creatures seem almost immune to cancer, and scientists are studying them to understand why. Their cells have extra protections against tumors, and they produce a special type of sugar that prevents cancer from forming. They also don't seem to age the way other animals do. An old naked mole rat has the same mortality rate as a young one, meaning they don't get weaker or more likely to die as they get older.
The star-nosed mole has one of the most disturbing faces in the animal kingdom. Around its nose, it has 22 fleshy pink tentacles that move constantly, wiggling and probing everything around it. These aren't just random decorations, they're incredibly sophisticated sensory organs called Eimer's organs, and there are over 25,000 of them packed into that tiny star. This gives the star-nosed mole the most sensitive sense of touch of any mammal on Earth. It can identify and eat prey in less than a quarter of a second, making it one of the fastest eaters in the world. When you watch a star-nosed mole hunt, it's genuinely unsettling. Those tentacles never stop moving. They're constantly touching, feeling, and analyzing everything in the environment. The mole is nearly blind, so it relies entirely on that nose to navigate underground tunnels and murky water. It's an incredible adaptation, but it looks absolutely horrifying. The tentacles move independently, creating this writhing mass that looks more like something from the ocean floor than something that should be living in your backyard. The star-nosed mole lives in wet, muddy areas throughout eastern North America. It digs elaborate tunnel systems near water and actually hunts underwater, which is rare for moles. When it dives, it blows bubbles onto objects and then re-inhales those bubbles to smell underwater. This technique lets it track prey even in complete darkness beneath the surface. The star-nose is so sensitive that it can detect tiny electrical fields generated by the muscle contractions of prey animals. That means even if something isn't moving, the star-nosed mole can sense it just from the electrical signals its body produces. Speed is this animal's superpower. Scientists have studied their feeding behavior extensively using high-speed cameras, and what they found is remarkable. The star-nosed mole can identify whether something is edible and consume it in just 230 milliseconds. That's faster than your brain can even process what you're seeing. The mole touches something with its star, sends signals to its brain, decides if it's food, and either eats it or moves on, all in less than a blink of an eye. This makes it the fastest foraging mammal ever recorded. The brain of a star-nosed mole is equally fascinating. A huge portion of its brain is dedicated to processing information from that star. If you looked at a map of its brain, the nose would be represented by a massive area, completely out of proportion with the rest of its body. This is similar to how humans have disproportionately large brain areas dedicated to our hands and faces. For the star-nosed mole, that nose is everything. It's how it experiences the world, finds food, and survives underground. Despite how weird it looks, the star-nosed mole is perfectly adapted to its environment. Those tentacles aren't a mistake or a deformity. They're precision instruments that have been refined over millions of years of evolution. Still, if you came across one in the wild, you'd probably scream. That squirming mass of pink tentacles is the stuff of nightmares. The shoebill stork is a bird that looks like it wants to murder you. Standing over 4 feet tall with a wingspan of nearly 8 feet, this creature has a massive shoe-shaped beak that looks like it was designed to crush skulls. And honestly, that's pretty much what it does. The shoebill is a prehistoric-looking bird found in the swamps of Central Africa, and everything about it feels wrong. It doesn't move like other birds. It stands completely still for hours, staring at the water with cold, unblinking eyes, waiting for prey. When a shoebill finally moves, it's violent and explosive. It lunges forward with that giant beak and grabs fish, baby crocodiles, or even small turtles. Then it shakes its head violently to break the prey's spine before swallowing it whole. The beak makes a loud clattering sound when the bird opens and closes it, which sounds exactly like a machine gun. This behavior is called bill clattering, and it's how shoebills communicate with each other. Imagine walking through a swamp and hearing what sounds like gunfire, only to realize it's a massive bird staring directly at you.
The shoebill's eyes are positioned forward on its head, giving it binocular vision like a predator. Most birds have eyes on the sides of their heads to watch for danger, but the shoebill doesn't need to worry about predators. It's the danger. Those forward-facing eyes give it excellent depth perception, which helps it strike with precision when hunting. Combined with that statue-like stillness, the shoebill is one of the most effective ambush predators in the bird world. What makes the shoebill even creepier is how it interacts with humans. Unlike most wild animals that run away when people approach, shoebills just stand there. They stare at you. They don't blink. They don't move. They just watch with those cold, ancient eyes. Some people have reported feeling genuinely intimidated by a shoebill's stare, like the bird is judging whether you're a threat or prey. There are videos of shoebills bowing to humans as a sign of respect, which sounds cute until you see it happen. The bow is slow and deliberate, and the bird never breaks eye contact. The shoebill is also incredibly patient. It can stand motionless for over an hour without moving a muscle. This patience pays off when hunting in murky swamp water where visibility is low. The bird waits for lungfish, which have to surface to breathe. The moment the fish comes up for air, the shoebill strikes. The attack is so fast and powerful that the fish has no chance to escape. That massive beak can exert tremendous force, easily capable of crushing bone. Despite their terrifying appearance and hunting skills, shoebills are endangered. Habitat destruction and human disturbance have caused their numbers to decline significantly. There are only a few thousand left in the wild, mostly in Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, and Zambia. They're solitary birds that don't form large flocks, which makes them even more difficult to study and protect. Conservation efforts are underway, but the shoebill's remote swamp habitat makes protection challenging. This is a bird that has survived for millions of years, virtually unchanged, and it would be tragic to lose it now.
The proboscis monkey has the most ridiculous nose in the animal kingdom. The males sport massive, bulbous noses that can grow up to 7 inches long and hang down past their mouths. It looks completely absurd, like someone glued a giant flesh balloon to the monkey's face. But here's the weird part. Females actually find this attractive. The bigger the nose, the more desirable the male. Scientists believe the nose amplifies mating calls, making males with larger noses sound more impressive. It also might be a sign of good health and genetics, similar to how a peacock's tail indicates fitness. When a proboscis monkey makes noise, that nose bounces and jiggles in the most disturbing way. The males produce these loud honking sounds that echo through the forests of Borneo where these monkeys live. The noise is meant to attract females and warn rival males to stay away. The nose acts like a resonating chamber, making the calls deeper and louder. During these displays, the nose inflates and changes color, turning bright red when the monkey is excited or agitated. It's simultaneously ridiculous and unsettling to watch. Proboscis monkeys have enormous potbellies because of their specialized digestive system. They eat mostly leaves, which are difficult to digest, so they have a multi-chambered stomach similar to cows. The fermentation process creates a lot of gas, giving them permanently swollen stomachs. This makes them look constantly bloated, adding to their overall bizarre appearance. They're excellent swimmers despite their bulky build, and they'll often leap from trees directly into rivers to escape predators like clouded leopards and crocodiles. The social structure of proboscis monkeys is based on harems. One dominant male leads a group of several females and their offspring. Other males form bachelor groups waiting for an opportunity to challenge a dominant male and take over his harem. These challenges can get physical, with males using their large noses in threat displays. They'll face each other and make exaggerated honking sounds while shaking their heads to make their noses wobble dramatically. It looks comical, but it's serious business for the monkeys. What's particularly strange about proboscis monkeys is how awkward they are on land. They're designed for life in trees and water, so when they walk on the ground, they move with this weird, bow-legged waddle. Their long arms drag slightly, and that massive nose swings back and forth with each step. They look completely out of place, like a cartoon character that accidentally wandered into the real world. And the trees, they're much more graceful, leaping between branches with surprising agility despite their size. Proboscis monkeys are endangered due to habitat loss and hunting. The rainforests of Borneo are being cleared for palm oil plantations at an alarming rate, destroying the monkeys' homes. They're also hunted for bushmeat and traditional medicine in some areas. Conservation programs are working to protect remaining populations, but the species faces serious threats. These bizarre-looking monkeys might seem like a joke of nature, but they're an important part of Borneo's ecosystem. They help disperse seeds throughout the forest and play a crucial role in maintaining the health of their habitat.
Goblin shark. The goblin shark is a deep-sea nightmare that looks like it's already dead. Its skin is pale pink, almost translucent, giving it a ghostly appearance that's genuinely disturbing. The color comes from blood vessels visible beneath the skin because the shark has very little pigmentation. It has small, lifeless black eyes that don't reflect light like normal shark eyes. But the truly horrifying feature is its jaw. The goblin shark has a protrusible jaw, meaning it can shoot its mouth forward several inches to grab prey. The mechanism is fast and violent, turning the shark's face into something that looks straight out of Alien. When the goblin shark attacks, specialized ligaments and muscles catapult the jaws forward at incredible speed. The jaw extends outward, revealing rows of needle-like teeth before snapping shut on prey. Then the entire jaw retracts back into place, pulling the captured animal into the shark's mouth. This happens in a fraction of a second, and it's one of the most disturbing feeding mechanisms in the ocean. The shark doesn't even need to get close to its prey. It just launches its face forward like a biological harpoon. Goblin sharks live in deep waters, usually between 600 and 4,000 feet below the surface. This is called the mesopelagic and bathypelagic zones, where sunlight doesn't penetrate and the pressure is crushing. Very few humans have ever seen a living goblin shark in its natural habitat because it's so difficult to reach these depths. Most of what we know comes from specimens accidentally caught in fishing nets or those that washed ashore. Each discovery provides scientists with valuable information, but the goblin shark remains largely mysterious. The body of a goblin shark is flabby and soft compared to other sharks. Its muscles aren't as developed because it doesn't need to be a fast swimmer in the deep sea. Food is scarce down there, so the goblin shark probably spends most of its time gliding slowly through the darkness, conserving energy. Its soft body allows it to move efficiently in the low-energy environment of the deep ocean. The shark's long, flat snout is covered with sensory organs called ampullae of Lorenzini, which detect electrical fields produced by other animals. In the complete darkness of the deep sea, this electrical sense helps the goblin shark find prey. Scientists believe goblin sharks feed on fish, squid, and crustaceans found near the ocean floor. They're ambush predators, waiting motionless in the dark until something edible comes close enough. Then that jaw shoots forward and it's all over. The shark's teeth are incredibly thin and sharp, perfect for impaling soft-bodied prey. Unlike great whites or tiger sharks that need powerful jaws to bite through tough prey, the goblin shark's teeth are designed for spearing and gripping slippery animals in the deep sea. Goblin sharks are incredibly rare, and scientists don't know much about their population size or reproductive habits. They're considered living fossils because their body plan has remained relatively unchanged for millions of years. Fossil records show that similar sharks existed over 125 million years ago during the Cretaceous period. The goblin shark is a survivor, a remnant from an ancient time when the oceans looked very different. Despite being rarely seen, this shark plays an important role in deep-sea ecosystems, controlling populations of smaller animals and maintaining balance in the food chain.
The Matamata turtle. The Matamata turtle looks like a pile of rotting leaves came to life. Its entire body is covered in irregular ridges, bumps, and flaps and skin that create perfect camouflage against the muddy riverbeds where it lives. The head is wide and flat, with a long snorkel-like nose that sticks up above the water when the turtle is submerged. But the most disturbing feature is the mouth. It's huge and powerful, capable of creating a vacuum strong enough to suck in prey in a single violent gulp. This turtle doesn't hunt by chasing prey. It's an ambush predator that lies completely motionless on the river bottom, looking exactly like dead vegetation. Fish swim past without noticing the danger until it's too late. When prey comes close, the Matamata opens its enormous mouth, creating a powerful suction that draws water and fish inside. The entire attack happens in less than a second. The turtle's mouth expands so quickly that it creates a vortex, pulling the fish helplessly into the turtle's throat. There's no escape once the mouth opens. The Matamata's appearance serves multiple purposes beyond camouflage. Those flaps of skin on its neck are covered in nerve endings that detect movement in the water. The turtle doesn't have good eyesight, so it relies on these sensory flaps to feel when prey is nearby. The texture of its shell also helps algae and other organisms grow on it, further enhancing the disguise. A Matamata that has been sitting still for a while can become completely covered in aquatic growth, making it virtually invisible on the river bottom.
These turtles live in slow-moving rivers, swamps, and stagnant pools throughout the Amazon and Orinoco River basins in South America. They prefer murky water with lots of vegetation where their camouflage works best. Matamatas can grow quite large, with shells reaching up to 18 inches long. Despite their size, they're incredibly patient hunters. A matamata can sit motionless for hours or even days waiting for prey to come within striking distance. This patience is crucial in environments where food might be scarce. The matamata doesn't chew its food, it swallows fish whole, using its powerful throat muscles to push prey into its stomach. The turtle's jaws are weak for biting, but that doesn't matter when its feeding strategy relies entirely on suction. Once a fish is inside the mouth, there's no way for it to escape. The matamata closes its mouth, expels the water through its nostrils, and swallows the fish. The entire process is efficient and brutal, perfectly adapted for a predator that relies on surprise rather than speed. In captivity, matamatas are popular among exotic pet owners, but they require very specific care. They need warm water, proper filtration, and a steady supply of live fish to eat. Many people are drawn to the turtle's bizarre appearance, but few understand how to properly care for such a specialized animal. In the wild, matamatas face threats from habitat destruction and pollution. The rivers where they live are increasingly contaminated with agricultural runoff and industrial waste. Conservation status is currently stable, but continued environmental degradation could threaten populations in the future. The leaf-tailed gecko has perfected the art of looking dead. These geckos from Madagascar have evolved to mimic dead leaves so convincingly that it's almost impossible to spot them in the natural habitat. Their tail is flat and wide, shaped exactly like a decaying leaf, complete with fake veins and even fake bite marks that look like insect damage. The body is covered in irregular patterns that match tree bark and dried foliage. Some species even have notched tails and body edges that look like decay has eaten away at them. When threatened, the leaf-tailed gecko will flatten its body against tree bark and remain completely motionless. The camouflage is so effective that predators will look directly at the gecko without recognizing it as food. If a predator gets too close, the gecko has a backup defense. It opens its mouth wide, revealing a bright red or orange interior, and hisses loudly. This sudden color change and sound startles predators, giving the gecko a chance to escape. It's a last resort because the gecko prefers to rely entirely on invisibility. These geckos are nocturnal hunters that feed on insects and other small invertebrates. During the day, they sleep pressed against tree trunks in positions that maximize their camouflage. At night, they become active, using their large eyes to navigate through the forest canopy. Their toes are equipped with specialized lamellae, tiny structures that create molecular bonds with surfaces, allowing them to climb vertical surfaces and even walk upside down on branches. This gives them access to prey that other predators can't reach. There are several species of leaf-tailed gecko, each adapted to different microhabitats within Madagascar's forests. Some species are found in rainforests, while others live in drier deciduous forests. The satanic leaf-tailed gecko is particularly famous for its horn-like protrusions above its eyes and its aggressive defensive display behavior. Despite the name, these geckos are harmless to humans. The satanic label comes from their appearance and the dramatic defensive display they perform when cornered. Madagascar is the only place on Earth where leaf-tailed geckos exist naturally. The island's isolation has allowed these reptiles to evolve unique adaptations found nowhere else. However, habitat destruction threatens all of Madagascar's endemic species, including leaf-tailed geckos. Deforestation for agriculture and logging has reduced their habitat significantly. The illegal pet trade also impacts wild populations, with collectors capturing geckos to sell internationally. Conservation organizations are working to protect Madagascar's forests and enforce laws against wildlife trafficking, but the situation remains critical. The reproductive behavior of leaf-tailed geckos is also interesting. Females lay only 1 or 2 eggs at a time, which is a low reproductive rate compared to many other reptiles. The eggs are often laid in tree cavities or under bark, where they're protected from predators. The young geckos hatch fully formed and immediately have the same camouflage abilities as adults. They receive no parental care and must survive on their own from birth. This makes the species vulnerable to population decline because each individual is precious for maintaining stable numbers. The blobfish has become famous as one of the ugliest animals on Earth, but that's actually unfair. The sad, melting face that everyone knows is what happens when you take a deep sea fish and drag it to the surface. In its natural habitat, thousands of feet below the ocean, the blobfish looks relatively normal. But when brought up quickly, the extreme change in pressure causes its body to expand and deform into that infamous droopy, depressed-looking blob. At depths of 2,000 to 4,000 feet, the pressure is 60 to 120 times greater than at sea level. The blobfish has evolved a body composition that's perfect for this environment. It has very few bones and almost no muscle because it doesn't need them. In the deep sea, having a body denser than water would require constant energy to avoid sinking. Instead, the blobfish's flesh is slightly less dense than water, allowing it to float effortlessly above the seafloor without swimming. The problem is that this gelatinous body structure doesn't hold up when pressure drops. As the fish is pulled toward the surface, the gases in its body expand rapidly and the low-density flesh loses its structural support. By the time it reaches the surface, the blobfish has transformed from a normal-looking fish into the sad, melted creature we all recognize. The droopy face, the sagging features, the look of utter defeat, none of that is what the fish actually looks like alive in its habitat. Blobfish are rarely seen because they live so deep. Most specimens have been accidentally caught by deep-sea trawling operations, which drag nets along the ocean floor, catching everything in their path. This fishing method is devastating for deep-sea ecosystems, destroying habitats and capturing non-target species like the blobfish. The fish cannot survive being brought to the surface, so every blobfish caught is effectively killed. This has raised concerns about population decline, though scientists don't have accurate data on how many blobfish exist. The blobfish's feeding strategy is completely passive. It sits on the seafloor with its mouth open, waiting for edible material to float by. In the deep sea, food is scarce, so the blobfish can't afford to waste energy actively hunting. Instead, it relies on small crustaceans, sea pens, and bits of organic matter drifting down from above. This low-energy lifestyle is common among deep-sea creatures where every calorie must be conserved. The viral fame of the blobfish has had an interesting effect on marine conservation. While the fish looks ridiculous in its decompressed state, the attention has raised awareness about deep-sea ecosystems and the damage caused by bottom trawling. Some conservation groups have used the blobfish as a mascot to campaign against destructive fishing practices. The irony is that the very reason the blobfish looks so strange is because of human activity. If we left these fish alone in their natural habitat, we'd never see them transformed into blob creatures. The blobfish is now a symbol of how human interference with deep-sea environments can have unexpected and irreversible consequences.
The saiga antelope. The saiga antelope has a nose that looks like it's from another planet. The inflated trunk-like snout hangs down over the mouth and is unlike anything else in the mammal world. At first glance, it looks diseased or deformed, but this bizarre nose is actually a sophisticated adaptation for survival in the harsh environments of Central Asia's steppes. The nose is flexible and bulbous, filled with mucus glands and a complex system of passages that warm and filter the air before it reaches the lungs. Saigas live in some of the most extreme environments on Earth, where temperatures can drop far below freezing in winter and soar above 100 degrees in summer. The dust storms in these regions are intense, filling the air with particles that would damage the lungs of most animals. The saiga's enlarged nose filters out dust and warms frigid air, protecting the respiratory system. In summer, the nose cools and humidifies the hot, dry air. This makes the saiga perfectly adapted to conditions that would kill other animals. The nose also gives saigas a highly developed sense of smell. They can detect predators from great distances, and mothers can identify their offspring by scent alone in massive herds. This is crucial because saiga calves are vulnerable to predation by wolves and eagles. Females give birth in synchronized calving events where thousands of mothers deliver babies within just a few days of each other. This sudden abundance of prey overwhelms predators, giving individual calves a better chance of survival. Mothers must quickly locate and bond with their specific calf among thousands of newborns. Saigas are incredibly fast runners, capable of reaching speeds up to 50 miles per hour. When threatened, the entire herd will stampede across the steppe in a dusty mass of bodies. These migrations can cover hundreds of miles as the antelopes follow seasonal patterns of rain and fresh grass. Historically, saiga populations numbered in the millions, with herds so large they could be seen from space. But today, saiga antelopes are critically endangered.
The crash in saiga populations is one of the most dramatic wildlife declines in recent history. In the 1990s, poaching exploded after the Soviet Union collapsed. Saiga horns are used in traditional Chinese medicine, commanding high prices on the black market. Poachers killed saigas by the tens of thousands, targeting males because they have larger horns. This created a severe gender imbalance, with female saiga outnumbering males by as much as 100 to 1 in some populations. Without enough males to breed with, reproductive rates plummeted. Disease has also devastated saiga populations. In 2015, a bacterial infection killed over 200,000 saigas in Kazakhstan in just a few weeks, wiping out more than 60% of the global population. Scientists believe climate change might be making these disease outbreaks more common and severe. The bacteria that killed the saigas normally exists harmlessly in their bodies, but unusual weather conditions triggered it to become lethal. Similar mass die-offs have occurred since then, threatening the species with extinction. Conservation efforts are ongoing, but the saiga antelope's future remains uncertain.
The vampire squid is neither a squid nor a vampire, but it's definitely one of the strangest creatures in the ocean. It lives in oxygen minimum zones, areas of deep water where oxygen levels are so low that most animals cannot survive. These zones exist between 2,000 and 3,000 feet below the surface in a region called the mesopelagic zone. The vampire squid has evolved to thrive in this suffocating environment where other predators cannot follow. When threatened, the vampire squid performs one of the most bizarre defensive displays in nature. It turns itself inside out. The webbing between its arms can be pulled up and over its body like an umbrella, creating a defensive cape covered in fleshy spines. The spines glow with bioluminescence, creating a light show that confuses predators. At the same time, the squid can eject sticky, bioluminescent mucus that forms glowing clouds in the water. Predators bite at the glowing mucus while the squid escapes into the darkness. The vampire squid's eyes are the largest relative to body size of any animal on Earth. Each eye can be as large as the squid's entire head, giving it extraordinary vision in near total darkness. The eyes have a special adaptation called photophores, which are light-producing organs that help the squid see in different wavelengths. This allows the vampire squid to detect the faint bioluminescence produced by other deep-sea creatures. In the inky blackness of the deep ocean, being able to see even tiny amounts of light is a huge advantage. Despite its terrifying name and appearance, the vampire squid is actually harmless. It feeds on marine snow, which is the constant rain of dead organisms and fecal matter that drifts down from the upper ocean. The squid catches this material with two specialized filaments that can extend up to 8 times its body length. These filaments are covered in tiny hairs that snag particles of marine snow. Once the filaments are full, the squid retracts them and scrapes the food off with its arms, then passes it to its mouth. This feeding strategy is unique among cephalopods, which are typically active predators. The vampire squid's lifestyle is extremely low energy, perfectly adapted to the food-poor environment where it lives. It doesn't waste energy chasing prey because there isn't much to chase in the oxygen minimum zone. Instead, it waits for food to literally fall from above. This passive feeding allows the vampire squid to survive on very little oxygen, something most active predators cannot do. The vampire squid's reproductive strategy is also unusual. Females carry developing eggs inside their body cavity, releasing them only when they're nearly ready to hatch. This protects the eggs from predators and ensures they have the best chance of survival. The squid can reproduce multiple times throughout its life, unlike many other cephalopods that die after breeding. In the harsh environment of the deep sea, being able to reproduce more than once gives the species a better chance of maintaining stable populations.
Hairy frog. The hairy frog has one of the most metal defense mechanisms in the animal kingdom. When threatened, this amphibian deliberately breaks its own toe bones and forces them through its skin, creating instant claws. That's right, this frog gives itself Wolverine claws on demand. The bones are sharp and strong enough to pierce through flesh, turning the frog's feet into weapons. After the threat passes, the bones retract and the skin heals. This might be the most hardcore thing any frog has ever done. The mechanism works because the hairy frog has special nodules of collagen at the tips of its toes. When muscles contract, they pull the bones downward with enough force to break them free from their normal position and push them through the nodules. The broken bones become sharp spikes that extend beyond the skin. Scientists discovered this when handling captured hairy frogs and getting stabbed by the unexpected claws. It's unclear whether the frogs feel pain when this happens, but the fact that they do it willingly suggests they've evolved some way to tolerate it. The hairy part of the hairy frog's name comes from the male's appearance during breeding season. Males develop strand-like structures on their thighs and sides that look like hair, but are actually dermal projections filled with blood vessels. These structures increase the frog's surface area, allowing it to absorb more oxygen through its skin. This is necessary because male hairy frogs guard eggs underwater and rarely come up for air during this period. The extra oxygen absorption keeps them alive while they protect their offspring. Hairy frogs live in Central Africa, particularly in Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, and Nigeria. They inhabit fast-flowing streams and mountainous forests where they breed during the rainy season. Males are fiercely territorial and will fight to defend their breeding sites. The claw mechanism likely evolved as a weapon for these male-male combat situations. A frog with sharp bone claws has a significant advantage in a fight, able to injure rivals and defend valuable territory. The species has other unusual features beyond the claws. The tadpoles are carnivorous and have specialized teeth for scraping food off rocks. They develop in fast-moving water and must cling tightly to surfaces to avoid being washed away. The adult frogs are also quite large compared to other African frogs, with males reaching lengths of over 4 inches. Their size, combined with the claw defense, makes them formidable predators of insects and other small animals in their forest streams. Conservation status for hairy frogs is currently stable, but habitat loss threatens all forest-dwelling species in Central Africa. Logging and agricultural expansion continue to reduce forest cover, eliminating streams and breeding sites. Climate change may also impact the frog by altering rainfall patterns that determine when and where they can breed. The hairy frog's strange adaptations make it an important subject for scientific research, particularly studies on bone regeneration and unique defense mechanisms. Understanding how these frogs break and heal bones repeatedly could have applications for human medicine.
Barrel-eye fish. The barrel-eye fish has a transparent skull. You can literally see through its head and watch its eyes rotating inside. This is not a joke or an exaggeration. The fish's head is covered in a clear, fluid-filled dome that protects the eyes while allowing light to pass through. The tubular eyes point upward, scanning the water above for the silhouettes of prey. This fish lives in the deep ocean's twilight zone, where the only light comes from bioluminescent organisms and the faint glow filtering down from the surface. For years, scientists thought the barrel eye could only look up and couldn't see forward. This seemed like a major disadvantage because the fish would have trouble eating anything it caught. Then in 2004, researchers using remotely operated vehicles observed living barrel eyes in their natural habitat and discovered something amazing. The eyes can rotate forward inside the transparent dome. When the fish spots prey above, it tilts its body upward and rotates its eyes forward to track the prey as it captures and eats it. The dome protects the delicate eyes from the stinging cells of jellyfish, which the barrel eye apparently steals food from. The barrel eye strategy involves following jellyfish and siphonophores, waiting for them to catch small fish and crustaceans in their tentacles. When the jellyfish captures something, the barrel eye carefully maneuvers through the tentacles using its tiny fins and steals the food right out of the jellyfish's grasp. The transparent dome shields the eyes from stings, allowing the barrel eye to raid jellyfish with relative safety. It's a clever survival strategy in the food-poor environment of the deep ocean. The fish itself is small, usually only about 6 inches long, with a dark body and iridescent blue-green eyes. Those tubular eyes are packed with light-sensitive cells, giving the barrel eye excellent vision in extremely low-light conditions. In the deep sea, where sunlight barely penetrates, being able to detect faint shapes and movements is crucial for finding food. The upward-facing eyes are specifically adapted to spot the dark silhouettes of animals against the slightly lighter water above.
Barrel eye fish were first discovered in 1939, but specimens brought to the surface were damaged during collection. The transparent dome collapsed and scientists didn't realize it existed. For decades, the fish was illustrated and described incorrectly. It wasn't until high-quality underwater video footage became available that researchers understood the true nature of the barrel eye's anatomy. This shows how little we still know about deep-sea creatures and how difficult they are to study in their natural environment. The barrel eye lives at depths between 2,000 and 2,600 feet in the region where faint sunlight barely reaches. This is deeper than most submarines can safely go, making the fish extremely difficult to study. Everything we know about their behavior comes from brief observations by remotely operated vehicles and the few specimens that have been caught accidentally by research trolls. The transparent head represents an evolutionary solution to the challenges of deep-sea life. The lamprey is a jawless fish with a circular mouth full of concentric rows of teeth that looks like something from a nightmare. This mouth is specifically designed to latch onto other fish and suck their blood. Lampreys are parasitic, using that terrifying mouth to attach to their prey, then rasping through scales and skin with their toothed tongue. Once they've created a wound, they release anticoagulant saliva that prevents blood clotting and begin feeding. Some lampreys stay attached to a single host for weeks. The lamprey's mouth is ringed with sharp, backward-pointing teeth that make it nearly impossible for prey to escape once the lamprey has attached. The interior of the mouth looks like an alien creature from a horror movie, with multiple rings of teeth spiraling inward toward the throat. When the lamprey feeds, it moves its toothed tongue back and forth in a rasping motion, literally sawing through flesh. The combination of teeth and suction creates a seal strong enough that lampreys can remain attached even while their host thrashes and tries to escape. Lampreys are ancient creatures that have existed for over 300 million years, long before dinosaurs. They represent a primitive form of vertebrate that evolved before jaws developed. This makes them incredibly important to science because they show us what early fish looked like. But it also makes them effective parasites because they've had millions of years to perfect their feeding strategy. Different species of lamprey exist worldwide, some living in oceans and others in freshwater lakes and rivers. The sea lamprey is particularly infamous for invading the Great Lakes and devastating fish populations. These lampreys are native to the Atlantic Ocean but entered the Great Lakes through shipping canals in the early 1900s. Without natural predators, their population exploded. Sea lampreys can kill up to 40 pounds of fish during their parasitic phase, and they nearly wiped out commercial fishing in the Great Lakes. Control programs using barriers, traps, and chemical treatments have reduced their numbers, but lampreys remain a serious problem. Not all lampreys are parasitic. Some species don't feed as adults at all. They spawn once and then die, similar to salmon. These non-parasitic lampreys spend most of their lives as larvae buried in stream sediments, filter feeding on microorganisms. When they finally transform into adults, their digestive system degenerates, and they live only long enough to reproduce. The parasitic species, however, spend 1 to 2 years actively feeding on other fish before they mature and spawn. Lamprey larvae, called amocoetes, look completely different from adults. They're blind, worm-like creatures that burrow into muddy stream bottoms and feed by filtering water. They can remain in this larval stage for up to 7 years before undergoing metamorphosis. During transformation, they develop eyes, the characteristic toothed mouth, and the ability to swim strongly. This dramatic life cycle change is fascinating from an evolutionary perspective and makes lampreys important subjects for developmental biology research. The frilled shark is a living fossil that looks like a sea serpent from ancient mythology. This deep-sea shark has barely changed in millions of years, retaining primitive features that make it look more like an eel than a modern shark. It has a long, slender body that can reach 6 feet in length, with frilled gills that give it its name. The first gill slit wraps almost completely around the shark's neck, creating a collar-like appearance. But the most disturbing feature is the mouth. The frilled shark's jaws are filled with over 300 teeth arranged in 25 rows. Each tooth has 3 sharp points, creating a terrifying array designed to trap prey. When the shark catches something, those backward curving teeth make escape impossible. The jaws can open extremely wide, allowing the frilled shark to swallow prey nearly half its own length. The entire feeding mechanism looks demonic, especially because the shark's mouth extends far back along its head, making it look like the creature is almost all jaws. Frilled sharks live in deep water, usually between 400 and 4,000 feet below the surface. They're rarely seen alive because of this extreme depth. Most of what we know comes from dead specimens caught in fishing nets or washed ashore. The few observations of living frilled sharks show an animal that moves slowly, almost lazily through the water. Its body undulates like a snake, creating an eerie serpentine swimming motion that's unlike any other shark. The diet of a frilled shark consists mainly of squid, fish, and other sharks. It's believed to hunt by ambush, striking quickly from below or behind. The snake-like body allows for sudden lunges that other sharks with more rigid bodies couldn't perform. Some scientists think the frilled shark might use its white teeth as a lure, opening its mouth slightly so the teeth flash in the darkness, attracting curious prey. This would be similar to the anglerfish's lure, using body parts to trick prey into approaching. Reproduction in frilled sharks is extremely slow, which is typical for deep-sea species. Females carry developing embryos for up to 3.5 years, the longest gestation period of any vertebrate. They give birth to live young, with litter sizes ranging from 2 to 15 pups. The long gestation and low reproductive rate mean frilled shark populations are vulnerable to overfishing. Even accidental catches can impact their numbers because they cannot reproduce quickly enough to replace losses. The frilled shark's appearance has inspired many sea serpent legends throughout history. Sailors who saw these creatures likely described them as dragons or monsters, leading to myths about serpents lurking in the deep ocean. In reality, the frilled shark is just a highly specialized predator adapted to life in an environment humans rarely see. But its ancient appearance and unusual features make it one of the most fascinating sharks alive today. It's a reminder that the deep ocean still holds creatures that look like they swam straight out of prehistoric times. The immortal jellyfish. The immortal jellyfish is the only known animal that can theoretically live forever. When this jellyfish faces death from injury, starvation, or old age, it doesn't die. Instead, it transforms itself back into a juvenile polyp and starts life over. This process is called transdifferentiation, where mature cells transform into completely different types of cells. It's like if a butterfly could turn back into a caterpillar and then grow back into a butterfly again, over and over, potentially forever. The transformation is triggered by stress. When the immortal jellyfish is injured or starving, its bell-shaped body collapses to the ocean floor. Then its cells begin to change. Muscle cells can become nerve cells. Skin cells can become stem cells. The jellyfish essentially rebuilds itself from scratch at the cellular level. Within days, the jellyfish has regressed to a polyp stage, the earliest form of jellyfish development. From there, it grows back into a mature jellyfish, genetically identical to its previous form, but biologically younger. This ability has obvious implications for aging research. Scientists study the immortal jellyfish to understand how it avoids the cellular damage that causes aging in other organisms. The jellyfish doesn't accumulate the mutations and errors that eventually kill most living things. Instead, it resets itself whenever necessary. If humans could do this, we could theoretically cure aging-related diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, and heart disease. The immortal jellyfish is tiny, about the size of a pencil eraser. It lives in temperate and tropical waters worldwide and has spread rapidly in recent decades, likely by hitching rides on cargo ships. These jellyfish eat plankton and other small organisms, using stinging tentacles to paralyze prey. Despite their incredible ability, individual immortal jellyfish still die from predation, disease, or accidents. Immortality doesn't mean invulnerability. If a fish eats the jellyfish, it's still dead regardless of its regenerative powers. What makes this ability even stranger is that it seems to have no biological limit. The jellyfish can repeat the cycle indefinitely. There's no maximum number of times it can transform. In laboratory experiments, researchers have watched the same jellyfish regress and mature dozens of times. Each transformation is complete and functional, producing a healthy adult jellyfish every time. This suggests that under perfect conditions with no predators or diseases, an immortal jellyfish could survive indefinitely. The discovery of the immortal jellyfish's ability was accidental. A German student studying jellyfish in the 1980s noticed that some specimens he thought were dead had transformed into polyps instead. Further research confirmed that this wasn't a fluke, but a consistent survival strategy. Since then, scientists have been trying to understand the genetic and cellular mechanisms that allow this transformation. The research could eventually lead to breakthroughs in regenerative medicine, potentially allowing humans to repair damaged organs or reverse aging at the cellular level.
The penis snake. The penis snake isn't actually a snake at all. It's a large, lungless amphibian that lives in rivers in Brazil, but it earned its unfortunate name because it looks exactly like what you think it does. This creature has no limbs, a smooth cylindrical body, and a blunt head, creating an appearance that is both fascinating and deeply awkward. Scientists call it a Tretocona icelti, but everyone else knows it by its far more memorable nickname. This amphibian can grow up to 30 inches long and lives its entire life underwater in the Madeira River and its tributaries. Unlike most amphibians that breathe through lungs or need to surface for air, the penis snake absorbs oxygen directly through its skin. This is unusual for an animal of its size because skin breathing is typically limited to small creatures with high surface area to volume ratios. The penis snake's flat, wide head increases its surface area, allowing enough oxygen absorption to sustain its large body. The lack of lungs means the penis snake never needs to leave the water. It's completely aquatic, which is rare for amphibians. Most frogs, salamanders, and caecilians spend at least part of their life on land or near the surface. The penis snake lives at the bottom of murky rivers where it feeds on small fish and invertebrates. Its mouth is relatively large, allowing it to consume prey nearly as thick as its own body. The feeding process involves gulping prey whole since the animal has no teeth capable of chewing. Very little is known about the penis snake's behavior or ecology because it's incredibly rare and difficult to study. The species was first discovered in the late 1800s, but wasn't seen again until 2011, when construction workers draining part of the Madeira River for a hydroelectric dam found several specimens. Scientists rushed to study them before the habitat was permanently altered. What they discovered was an animal unlike anything else, with bizarre adaptations that raise questions about how it evolved and survives. The penis snake's reproductive habits remain a mystery. No one has observed mating behavior or found eggs. It's unclear whether the animal lays eggs like most amphibians or gives birth to live young. The scarcity of specimens makes research challenging. Conservation status is also uncertain, but the construction of dams on the Madeira River has likely destroyed parts of its habitat. If the species has a limited range, habitat destruction could push it toward extinction before we fully understand it. The penis snake serves as a reminder of how much we still don't know about Earth's biodiversity. Even large, distinctive animals can remain hidden in remote rivers and forests, unknown to science for decades or centuries. The unfortunate appearance of this creature has made it famous on the internet, but beneath the jokes is a genuine scientific mystery. How did an amphibian evolve to be completely lungless? What other adaptations does it have that we haven't discovered yet? These questions make the penis snake important beyond its meme-worthy appearance. The tardigrade is an 8-legged microscopic animal that refuses to die. These creatures are so indestructible that they've survived every mass extinction event in Earth's history. You can freeze them to near absolute zero, boil them at temperatures that would melt most materials, blast them with radiation thousands of times stronger than what would kill a human, crush them under 6 times the pressure of the deepest ocean, or even launch them into the vacuum of space, and they'll survive. When conditions improve, they just wake up and go about their business like nothing happened. Tardigrades achieve this near immortality through a process called cryptobiosis. When their environment becomes hostile, they expel all the water from their bodies, reducing their water content from 85% to just 3%. Then they curl up into a dried husk called a tun.
In this state, their metabolism drops to essentially zero. They're not dead, but they're not really alive either. They exist in suspended animation, sometimes for decades, until water becomes available again. Within hours of being rehydrated, tardigrades wake up and resume normal activity. The secret to their survival involves special proteins that replace water in their cells. These proteins form a glass-like structure that protects cellular machinery from damage. Other proteins repair DNA that gets broken by radiation or extreme conditions. Tardigrades can survive radiation doses of 5,000 to 6,000 grays. Humans die from exposure to just 5 to 10 grays. This radiation resistance comes from their ability to quickly repair DNA damage and from proteins that shield their genetic material from harm. Scientists have sent tardigrades into space multiple times, and the results are astonishing. Tardigrades survived exposure to the vacuum of space, extreme temperature fluctuations, and intense cosmic radiation. Some were even exposed to direct solar radiation while in space, and they still survived and successfully reproduced after returning to Earth. This makes tardigrades the toughest animals we know of and raises questions about whether life could survive transfer between planets on meteorites. Tardigrades live almost everywhere on Earth. They're found in ocean sediments, freshwater lakes, soil, moss, leaf litter, and even in the Himalayan mountains at elevations over 20,000 feet. There are over 1,300 known species, ranging in size from about half a millimeter down to microscopic. Despite being nearly invisible to the naked eye, tardigrades are complex animals with muscles, nervous systems, digestive tracts, and even simple eyes in some species. Under a microscope, tardigrades look adorable in a weird way. They have chubby bodies, 8 stubby legs ending in claws, and they move in a lumbering, bear-like walk that earned them the nickname water bears. They eat by piercing plant cells or smaller organisms with a sharp stylus in their mouth, then sucking out the contents. Some species are predators that hunt other tardigrades or nematodes. Despite their incredible survival abilities, tardigrades have normal lifespans of just a few months when active, though time spent in cryptobiosis doesn't count towards aging. The military and space agencies study tardigrades to understand how to protect humans and equipment from extreme conditions. If we can figure out how tardigrades survive radiation and vacuum exposure, we might develop better protection for astronauts on long space missions. Medical researchers are interested in the proteins tardigrades use to preserve their cells, thinking similar compounds might allow us to preserve organs for transplant or protect cells during medical treatments. The tardigrade's indestructibility isn't magic, it's biology taken to the absolute extreme, and understanding it could change how we approach survival in hostile environments. The female anglerfish is one of the most horrifying creatures in the deep ocean, and not just because of her appearance. The truly disturbing part is what happens to the males. In many anglerfish species, males are tiny parasites that exist only to find a female, bite into her body, and fuse permanently. The male's tissues merge with the female's until he becomes nothing more than a pair of gonads attached to her side, providing sperm whenever she needs it. He loses his eyes, fins, and most internal organs. His identity as a separate organism effectively disappears. The female anglerfish can grow to be over 3 feet long with massive jaws full of translucent needle-like teeth that point inward. Her mouth can open wide enough to swallow prey larger than her own body. The lower jaw is hinged in a way that allows it to drop dramatically, creating a gaping maw that looks physically impossible. Combined with her distended stomach that can expand to accommodate huge meals, the female anglerfish is built to eat anything she encounters in the food-scarce deep ocean. The most famous feature of the anglerfish is the bioluminescent lure that dangles in front of her face. This lure, called an esca, is actually a modified dorsal fin spine that's been repurposed as a fishing rod. It glows with light produced by symbiotic bacteria living inside it. The anglerfish waves this glowing lure in the darkness, attracting curious prey. When something comes close to investigate, the anglerfish strikes with lightning speed. The entire attack happens so fast that prey has no chance to escape once they're within range. Different species of anglerfish have different lure designs. Some have elaborate branching structures that look like glowing plants. Others have lures that pulse or change brightness to mimic the movements of small prey animals. This diversity suggests that different lures attract different types of prey. The bacteria inside the lure are controlled by the anglerfish through hormones and blood flow. When the fish wants to hide, she can cut off blood flow to the lure and make it go dark. The male's parasitic lifestyle evolved because finding mates in the deep ocean is nearly impossible. The ocean is enormous, completely dark, and populated by very few fish at extreme depths. Males are born with highly developed sense organs that help them detect the pheromones females release. Once a male finds a female, he bites into her and releases enzymes that dissolve the skin at the attachment point. Their circulatory systems fuse, and the male begins receiving nutrients from the female's blood. Over time, he degenerates until only his reproductive organs remain functional. A single female can have multiple males attached to her body at once. Scientists have found females with up to 8 males fused to them. Each male remains viable, able to release sperm when the female is ready to spawn. This strategy guarantees that females can reproduce whenever conditions are right, without needing to find a mate. For the males, it's a one-way trip. They'll never be independent again. They've essentially traded their individuality for guaranteed reproductive success. It's one of the most extreme examples of sexual dimorphism and parasitism in the animal kingdom.
The candiru fish is the stuff of absolute nightmares. This tiny parasitic catfish from the Amazon River has a reputation for swimming into human urethras and other body orifices, where it lodges itself with backward-pointing spines and cannot be removed without surgery. The horror stories about this fish have been told for centuries, and while the truth is more complicated, the candiru is still one of the most feared creatures in the Amazon. The candiru is translucent and eel-like, usually only growing 1 to 2 inches long, though some species can reach 6 inches. It's nearly invisible in murky river water, making it impossible to see coming. The fish normally parasitizes larger fish by swimming into their gill cavities and feeding on blood. It has sharp spines on its gill covers that deploy once inside the host, anchoring it in place. The candiru then uses its mouth to rasp away tissue and lap up blood that flows from the wounds. The terrifying reputation comes from reports of candiru entering human urethras, vaginas, and anuses when people urinate or defecate in the river. The fish supposedly follows the stream of urine to its source and swims upstream into the urethra. Once inside, it extends its spines, making removal impossible without medical intervention. The pain is described as excruciating, and traditional removal methods allegedly involved amputation or herbal remedies that supposedly dissolved the fish. Modern treatment requires surgery to physically remove the embedded parasite. Scientists have debated whether candiru attacks on humans actually happen. There's only one properly documented case from 1997, where a man in Brazil claimed a candiru entered his urethra while he was urinating in the Amazon. Doctors removed a fish, though skeptics argue the details don't add up and the fish might have entered differently. Laboratory experiments show that candiru don't seem attracted to urine, casting doubt on the traditional explanation. However, the fish are definitely attracted to gill cavities of other fish, so accidental entry into human orifices while swimming isn't impossible. The lack of solid evidence hasn't stopped the candiru from becoming legendary. Indigenous peoples along the Amazon have worn protective devices while swimming for generations, specifically to prevent candiru entry. Tour guides warn visitors never to urinate in the river. The fear is deeply embedded in Amazonian culture. Whether or not the attacks happen frequently, the possibility alone is enough to terrify anyone swimming in candiru habitat. What makes the candiru genuinely horrifying isn't just the human angle, it's the entire parasitic lifestyle. Imagine being a fish, swimming peacefully, and suddenly feeling something force its way into your gills. You can't see it, can't remove it, and it's literally drinking your blood while anchored inside your body with spines. For the fish being parasitized, there's no escape. The candiru stays attached for days, feeding continuously, before finally dropping off when it's full. For humans, the psychological horror of having a living parasite lodged inside your body, held in place by spines, unable to be pulled out without tearing internal tissue, that's pure nightmare fuel. The candiru deserves its spot as the most disturbing creature on this list.